10 video games of all time. I've tried to limit these to one per franchise, so there's not going to be any like top 10 Mario games or whatever, but I've tried to limit it to one per franchise. Like I said, there is obviously honourable mentions, but I would be here all day mentioning so many games that I've enjoyed playing that aren't on this list. So I'm going to crack on with number 10, and number 10 is Mega Man. I have a funny feeling that this was the very first Nintendo, the original Nintendo NES game that I ever played. I don't think I've ever completed it. It's just one of those games that certain levels, like Cutman, I can do pretty much with my eyes closed. But some of the ones like Bomb Man or whatever are just ridiculously difficult. Mega Man has always been a really, really hard game. And it's one of those ones that even though I enjoy playing it, I enjoy the music of it. I know that they bring out some of it on vinyl, which I would love to get at some stage, because the original music just always, even if I was bad at playing the level, which was the majority of the time, I enjoyed the music that and just one of the music is going right in my head right now. So I've always enjoyed Mega Man. It's always been one of those franchises where whenever they brought out new ones, I would play that and see what it's like. The likes of Mega Man 9, whenever it came out in the Xbox 360, I think it was. I enjoyed playing that, even though, again, they're all ridiculously hard. So that's number 10. Number 9 is Grand Theft Auto Vice City. This, for me, is the best Grand Theft Auto game. As much as I enjoy 5, graphically, it is stupendous. With Vice City, it was just something awesome. I remember getting the third one whenever it first came out, and just it's selling so well, as did Vice City. It's just one of those ones that if they were to do a remake of that, oh, that would just be incredible. It is one of those ones that you could still play now. I think you can get it for your PS4 and download it or whatever. But it's one of those ones that I love things. Growing up in the 80s, I love games like that, which are set in the 80s, have the 80s themes and music and stuff, and it's just so good. I've just always enjoyed that game, and for me, it is by far the best game that in the Grand Theft Auto series. But that's just my opinion. Some people really like San Andreas, some people really like 4, people really like 5. So this is just my take on it. So in at number 8 is Pokemon Fire Red. As much as I enjoyed Pokemon Red or Blue, Fire Red was done in colour for the Game Boy Advance. I spent countless hours playing that game. Even whenever Let's Go Pikachu / Eevee came out for the Nintendo Switch, even though I played that game to death, I really wanted to play it with next gen graphics and just really enjoyed it. So with Fire Red, there was a couple of people that used to come around to mine, and we would play that for a couple hours. And I remember getting to the Elite Four, and the battery was what we used to save your games, and it had died. So whenever we put it in again to play the next day, it had went on back to the start, and we'd lost all our Pokemon and all our progress, which was really annoying. But yeah, just Charizard, my favorite Pokemon, and that's probably why I like Fire Red, because he's on the cover of it. But yeah, Pokemon is just, there's so many people going nuts for Pokemon cards now. I don't understand why. They've been around for so long, but all of a sudden now everyone is going to their local Tesco or Asda or whatever to see if they can get any, and I don't understand where all the hypes come from. So that was number 9. So 10, 9, 8. So in at number 7 is Punch Out. There's 2 versions of this. So you have Punch Out, which is just standard cover, and you also had Mike Tyson's Punch Out, which just was, instead of Mr. Dream at the end, was Mike Tyson, and basically you'd be lucky if you got a hit in with him. It'd be like one knock, you were done. This was the first game that my dad and I played together, if memory serves. He really enjoyed this. Some of the earlier boxers have like certain little giveaways that they're going to do something. So one of them, his eyebrows would raise, and if he was going like that, he would then punch. I remember getting stuck. Now this was way before the days of the internet. Getting stuck in King Hippo, and trying to beat him and couldn't, and figure out that he had a cross on his stomach and you had to hit that, and just kept hitting that, and then that was him. He was probably one of the easiest once you figured that out. But yeah, so with the likes of Punch Out, it was just a great game. Obviously, they brought out Super Punch Out for the Super Nintendo, brought it out for the Wii, and then had Little Mac in Smash Brothers, and the running theme in that was brilliant. So yeah, Punch Out has just been one of those games that, with the likes of the Nintendo Switch, you can get the original NES games to download to play, and that's one of them, and that was one of the first games that I played. So I should have actually wrote numbers beside this. I'm going to do this now so I don't actually forget. So 6, 5. I can count backwards, don't worry, but sometimes whenever you're looking at a page, you're like, what number is this? So number 6 is The Last of Us. Working for game for so many years, whenever this game came out, obviously it sold so well, but then whenever you had people coming in, months or years after, it would always be one that I would say, have you played The Last of Us? And be like, no. And I always said that if the first 30 minutes doesn't grip you, you do not have a soul. I'm not going to spoil anything, but those who've played it understand what I mean. It was just one of those games that from beginning to end, the storyline was just so good. I don't think the second one for me was as good a storyline. It didn't pull me in as much as the first one did. Obviously, there was moments in it where it did. I've yet to complete it, so obviously it could do. But I'm at one of those points now where I don't know what I have to do, and I've kind of just been playing other things. So The Last of Us is just one of those games that Naughty Dog, who made the likes of Uncharted, gives the likes of Crash Bandicoot and stuff, really excelled themselves with this, and it won so many awards. The casting was spot on, the graphics, even though it was brought out in the PS3 and then they brought out in the PS4, and I have a funny feeling they'll bring it out in the PS5. It's just one of those games that you need to play. It's one of those ones that, if you were to have 10 video games to play before you die, this would be one of them. So that's the number 6. Number 5 is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now, while The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker is one of my favourite games, let me rephrase that, is my favourite from the Legendary series. Breath of the Wild did so much for me, that's why it's here instead of Wind Waker. I had my Nintendo Switch around the time of my father's death, and this was the game that really helped me through keeping myself occupied, keeping my mind kind of not thinking about things and stuff. And whenever people say, that really helped me through a difficult time, that game really did. I think I applied about 80 or 90 hours into that, and just graphically, it's just outstanding. You can basically do anything you want to. You can go and cook your own food, whether it comes out nice or whether it doesn't look nice. You go to a level that's lava, you have to then wear a suit that you don't then lose health. If you go to somewhere that has snow, you then have to wear warm gear to keep you warm, etc. And I just really, really enjoyed it. It was just one of those ones that playing, you had so much to do. The map was ginormous, and I just really, really enjoyed playing it, even though it's through a difficult time, and that's something that I always remember that game for, but I always remember it for getting me through a difficult time. So yeah. So in at number 4 is Animal Crossing New Horizons. Now, that's what obviously my t-shirt is to do with. This, again, was around a difficult time because this came out just before the first lockdown, whenever stores were closing, everything was closing bar non-essential places. And this was a game that came out in March 2020, so it's been out over a year now, and has been clipping at the heels of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe as the top-selling Nintendo game of all time, especially the Nintendo Switch game. And it's just one of those games that I really enjoy playing. You can do so much with it. Obviously, you have villagers that you can talk to, that you have to do other tasks. They do things around certain days of the year. So as the likes of May Day, you had like a maze you could go to. With the likes of Mother's Day, you can order like Mother's Cups and things like that. You can visit other people's islands, and I've visited so many amazing people's islands. I've been able to help other people. The likes of, say, Hannah, who's watching. So hi Hannah, your hand's nice. The likes of my friend Drew and his son Raiden, and even Drew's girlfriend. Meeting so many people online as well, and then if they had like a DIY thing going there and being able to pick that up, and it was so. Obviously now it's been a year later that it's kind of not as great. It's still fun to play, but it's nowhere near as good as it was at the time, because you had so much stuff that you still had to do, and now you've kind of done everything. It's just basically like checking on your villagers, seeing if there's anything new, etc. And obviously they've got like Mario things now where you can dress yourself like Mario. You can have a pipe to warp to different parts of your island and such, and that's why I really liked it. So in at number 3 is Mass Effect 2. Now this was a tough call between this and the third one. The reason why this one got it was the ending. The mission at the end and the music at the end as well had a better payoff than the third one did, because whenever they released it, just the ending was trash, and they had to kind of redo it and kind of bring out a director's cut of it for whenever you were doing it. So obviously now I have the Mass Effect Legendary Edition to play through on my PS5, which means that I get to play through all 3 games again. So I've only just started the first one about 4 or 5 hours into it, and they're beasts of a game, so it's going to take me a while to complete all 3 of them. The characters on this are brilliant, meeting the likes of Morden for the first time. My favourite character, Thane, who's like an assassin, and just the depth of richness in the characters, and you care about the characters. You have to do loyalty missions for them to make sure that if you don't do that and you aren't loyal to them, then there's a chance at the end mission of the second one they could die, meaning that way it affects the third game as well. So all of the decisions you make carry across to the second and the third one as well. So it's just an outstanding game. Obviously graphically with the Legendary Edition it is outstanding. The controls are so much easier to do, and they've just really brought the game up to what it should be today, and fans have been crying out for a remake of this for some time, and finally we've got it. So yes. Speaking of remakes, in at number 2 is Resident Evil 2. Now this is the original and the remake. The original one was out in the, I want to say late 90s, like 98, 99, something around that. And that was just an outstanding game. Obviously, if you were looking at it now, graphically, like a lot of things, it's very robotic, the way they move. And that's why Code Veronica I tried to play. And because of the way the character moves, it's a lot harder to be able to deal with. So whenever they brought out the remake for the second one, that was done from the ground up, and it was just outstanding. I was really, really happy with it, and was really impressed with it. Whereas the third one, it was okay, but the second one, just because that was one that's always been in my top 10 games of all time, and just playing that one and seeing the likes of Leon and Claire, and just the way that they crossed over certain things as well was just done superbly. If you haven't played Resident Evil 2, if you're not a fan of horror, then don't. But if you are, please give it a go. I think you can get it for less than 20 quid now, and you will not regret it. It is just a phenomenal game. But my favourite game, one that has always been my favourite game of all time, which is Super Mario World. While Super Mario 3 is fun and everything, Super Mario World was just incredible. It's always been a one that I've always wanted to play portably, rather than playing on like a Super Nintendo, or if they were to bring out like a anniversary edition or Super Mario All-Stars. So with a Nintendo Switch, with the Super Nintendo part, I can play it on that as well, which I'm super happy with, no pun intended. But Mario has always been a mainstay in my life. It's always been there, from whenever I started playing games until, like, say this year, whenever I finished playing Super Mario 3D World and Mario Galaxy. Mario's always been there, Nintendo's always been there as well, and it's just something that growing up you always have. Whether it's somebody who's growing up with PlayStation and Crash Bandicoot, or somebody's growing up with Sega and Sonic, or somebody's growing up with Halo and Xboxes, you always have that constant, and that's what Mario has always been. The Mario movie, obviously they're meant to be doing an animated one now, so hopefully that will be a lot better than the Bob Hoskins, Dennis Hopper travesty. But yeah, Mario World has always just been something that I've enjoyed. It was the first time that I actually had to phone the Nintendo helpline to do with finding a certain exit to a level. It's still something that I know where all the levels are, how to get all 96 levels done. That's always something that I've been kind of proud of. But yeah, it's always been something I've enjoyed playing, and hope that if you've played Mario World, that it's high up on your list as well. So yes, if you play video games, let me know down below what's your favourite video game of all time. I know there's some games here that I haven't said, but maybe I've not played it, so just remember that. But that's my take on my top 10 video games of all time. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time.